Yes? Okay.
Bueno, buenos días a todas y a todos.
Well, good morning,
Bienvenidos y
everybody,
bienvenidas
and
a
welcome
este webinar
to
que se
this
titula
webinar
Diálogos
called
desde una mirada local, enfoque
Local
de
Voices
localización
in
desde Oriente
Dialogue,
Medio.
Localization Approach
Os voy
from the Middle
a
East.
dar unos pequeños avisos técnicos antes
I'll just
de
mention a
iniciar
few
el
technical
webinar.
details before
Vamos a
we
estar
start the
aquí
webinar.
una hora y media.
We'll be here for an hour and a half,
A continuación, la compañera que os presente os dará
and
las
after
palabras de bienvenida en
I speak,
formato
my colleague will give a few
de
words
este
of
evento.
welcome, and we'll talk about this event.
Después empezaremos como tal con el diálogo, que
After that, we'll start
será
with the dialogue.
integrado por una moderadora que luego
We'll have
presentaremos
a
y vamos a
moderator
tener
who will
cinco
be
personas
introducing later as well. And
participantes
we'll also
de
have 5
organizaciones
people
nacionales y
participating
locales de los
from
países
national
de
and local
Siria,
organizations
Palestina
from
y
Syria,
Jordania.
Palestine,
Y al
and
final
Jordan.
del webinar,
And at
después
the
de
end
esa
of the
hora de
webinar,
diálogo, tendremos
after that hour
como
of
un
dialogue,
espacio
of
de unos 15
conversation,
minutos
we'll
para
have around 15
que podáis
minutes
hacer las
which we can use to ask, you can ask any questions that you might have that arise during the dialogue. We'd also like to recommend that you use the chat, which you can find on the lower section here on Zoom. If you have any questions, you can add them in there. And also in these 15 minutes after we finish, of course, you can raise your hand or switch on your microphone if you so wish to ask any questions or make any comments. We'll finish with some conclusions on what we've talked about today. And I'd also like to mention that we have translation available, Spanish into English, English into Spanish. The dialogue will be in English. The moderator and the participants will be speaking in English. So if you look on the lower bar here on Zoom, there is a symbol. Sorry, if you could please mute your
Gracias. Decía que en la barra inferior de Zoom podéis ver un redondito que se parece al mundo donde pone interpretación y si pincháis ahí podéis elegir el canal de castellano o inglés según necesitéis. Avisaros de que este webinar se va a grabar y se subirá a la página web de la coordinadora estatal, que ahora os contaremos, pero es el marco de donde hemos organizado este evento. Y os pedimos por favor que mantengáis las cámaras y los micrófonos silenciados para fomentar que todas nos podamos escuchar bien. Y sin más dilación, doy la palabra a mi compañera Arantxa Oses, que es la vocal de Acción Humanitaria de la Coordinadora Estatal de ONGs, que os dará las palabras de bienvenida.
Muchas gracias, Irene. Bueno, buenos días a todos y todas. Muchas gracias. Y antes de comenzar, lo primero es agradeceros vuestra
Welcome to
presencia hoy
everyone,
aquí en
and
este
I'd also
evento,
like to thank
que,
you
como
for being here.
comentaba
And as
bueno, está
Irene
organizado desde el
mentioned,
subgrupo de
it's been
localización
organized
de
by the
la
subgroup
Coordinadora
for
Estatal de
localization
ONGs.
of
Este
the
grupo
state
lleva trabajando
coordinator
desde
of NGOs.
2021
It's a group that has been
en la
working since
agenda de
2021
localización, con la
on
idea de,
localization,
bueno, pues promover esta
with the idea
agenda
of
y
promoting this
impulsarla
agenda
y cerrar
and
y organizar
using
espacios
it
como
and
este en el que
organizing
estamos hoy,
spaces such as this one
donde
today,
esperamos poder
where
escuchar,
we hope to
dialogar y aprender
listen,
sobre los retos y
converse,
oportunidades que
and talk about
ofrece
the
esta
challenges
agenda con
and
el objetivo de
opportunities this
impulsarla.
agenda offers with
Este
the
grupo es el
idea of
subgrupo de
promoting it.
localización, se
This
enmarca en el grupo de acción
localization group
humanitaria
forms
de
part
la
of the
coordinadora.
humanitarian action of
Para esta
Coordinadora, la
organización han
Coordinadora.
pasado otros
And
encuentros
as we've also done in
para
previous
dialogar esta agenda
meetings,
en otras regiones.
to talk about
Concretamente se ha
this
hecho
agenda in other
sobre
regions.
América Latina,
One was
se
done
hizo
in
sobre el Sahel y se
Latin
hizo
America,
sobre
one was done
Ucrania.
about Sahel, and
Hoy
another one
pues
about
vamos a
Ukraine.
continuar la dinámica
Now we're going to
que
continue
llevamos
on
los
with this
otros
dynamic
eventos,
that the other
pero
events
nos
had,
enfocaremos, como ha dicho
but
Irene,
this
en la zona
time, as
de
Irene
Medio
mentioned,
Oriente.
we'll be
Y
focusing
para
on the
eso,
Middle
y sin
East.
más preámbulo,
And
pues
for that,
quería presentar
without
a Mati
further
Gomis,
ado, I
que
wanted
es
to present
directora adjunta de
Mati
Oxfam en
Gomis,
Siria
who
y
is
que
the
es la
Deputy Director of
primera
Oxfam in
ponente de
Syria
hoy.
and who will
De
be our
nuevo reitero
moderator
las gracias y
today. Once
esperemos que
again, I'd like
quede
to give
una
my
agenda realmente
thanks, and
interesante.
I
Y
hope this is an
Mati,
interesting
pues
event for all of you.
todo tuyo.
And
Gracias.
Mati, over to you. Thank you.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Arantxa, y
Well, thank you
compañeras
very
de
much,
la
Arantxa.
coordinadora.
Thanks very much to colleagues at
Good
La
afternoon, good
Coordinadora.
morning. I'm very delighted to be in this space, and I thank the colleagues organizing this event to reach out to me to moderate this, and I hope I can do a good job, or at least a job that allows our colleagues and our panelists to really have the space and the opportunity to have an open, frank, and fruitful conversation. I'm very not only delighted but also honored and humbled to be here with surrounded by these great organizations and very exceptional colleagues that are working on the ground under very difficult circumstances. I'm going to give a bit of a context overview, and also I will introduce our panelists. So clearly, the Middle East is confronted with a profound and very significant transformation as we speak, the consequences of which are yet to be seen and to be witnessed. This transformation, to say the least, is being carried out with significant level of violence, destruction, and suffering on civilian population, women and women and children most affected. Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, now Iran. Most, if not all, of the IHL norms and regulations are being broken on a daily basis with blatant disregard to the existing human rights and international law frameworks, including humanitarian principles. In the midst of all of this, the aid system in which we are all working is being broken, and what it is, a deep financial crisis in the surface, it's really uncovering an underlying and structural crisis of legitimacy and, more worrying, from my perspective, purpose. So what are we here for, in a way? In today's conversation, we are trying to look at the role of localization, local organizations, local actors, whatever their shape and form are, to really advance this localization agenda, but also to see what is the work that we need to have ahead of us. We're going to be looking around on issues on access, partnership between international NGOs and local NGOs, the role of localization and LHL in post-crisis settings that we may have in the region, the relationships between local organizations, but also community-based organizations, the role of NGOs, local NGOs and localization within the current climate crisis that we have amidst all the other regional crises that we have in the Middle East. And also we'll be looking at the role of local NGOs to lead in implementing locally models of care for the population and the individuals. I'm pretty sure that many other aspects will come up in a hopefully very fruitful conversation. In order to address all these issues, we are joined by, as I said, a rich group of colleagues representing incredible organizations working on the ground. From Palestine, we are going to be joined by Tamador Aqel, who is working with PARC in Palestine. PARC is Agricultural Development Association, a Palestinian NGO founded back in the first Intifada in 1983, and that is a leading actor in Palestine on sustainable agricultural development and improving living conditions of rural communities, small farmers, and promoting food sovereignty. Tamador is currently the Emergency and Resilience Program Manager, and she will be talking to us about the work that is happening in Gaza and how localization can be strengthening over there. Then we will move to Syria, and we will be joined by Sara, who is the Deputy Director General of GOPA-DERD, the largest faith-based organization in Syria, who is working in all the governorates of Syria in many different sectors: livelihood, cash, agriculture, distribution, protection, education, health, shelter, but is also a leading actor in advocacy. Sara, as I said, is the Deputy Director General. She joined GOPA-DERD in 2016, and she has been a leading person in different aspects in Syria, also in Lebanon, with a huge expertise on humanitarian negotiations and humanitarian international law. We'll also be joined by Mashael Zou'bi from the Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature in Jordan, an organization registered in 1996 with a clear mandate to conserve Jordan's biodiversity while supporting the development of local communities. Mashael herself is an environmental professional with more than 10 years of experience. We will be going back to Palestine to speak with Lama, Balbaisi from MAAN Development Center, another organization that was created back in the first Intifada in Jerusalem by professionals committed to supporting Palestinian society through developing human and natural resources while advocating for national rights and ending the Israeli occupation. Finally, Lama is working in the wash and shelter sector of MAAN, and she will be joining us to discuss and to bring her extensive experience in different aspects that have to do with developing, supporting community developments. And finally, we will have Dr. Ibrahim Aqel from the Institute of Family Health in Jordan, an organization that is quite a leading partner in its model for comprehensive family healthcare services, and looking at traditional models of care and how those can be driving force to support communities. And Dr. Ibrahim Akel, he himself is both a humanitarian and development professional, doctor in public health with 25 years of experience in the sector. And without further ado, I'm going to start with the questions. First, as I said, we're gonna go for in Palestine, Tamador, Akel. The work in Palestine right now, needless to say, there is a lot of attention for what's happening in Gaza. And there, the localization has a lot to do with access. And in that sense, in the current context of Gaza, where many NGOs have been denied access, how do you see the role of local organizations, and how that access and the role of local organizations can advance access to provide communities on the ground the support needed? Tamador?
Yeah. Hi, good morning. Thank you for your question. So regarding localization and what we think as, let's say, as local organization of localization, we think that organization or local organization are the first responder in a crisis. And that's what happened with, let's say, with the PARC and other local NGOs in the last war on Gaza since October 2023 and the ongoing operation until now. As you know, there is like a fully blockage for borders now since the 2nd of March after the ending of the ceasefire. So there is no delivery for aid since more than now 90 days for Gaza. And let's say that the relationship between local NGOs and international NGOs, due to the restriction from the Israeli side, the local NGO was denied from the access to Gaza or delivering aid to Gaza through the local NGOs, especially in borders, and the kind of coordination needed between the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. And that is as the Palestinians refused to do this kind of coordination. So the international organization was doing that role, and the facilitation to for the entering or delivery the aid to Gaza. Since March, this is stopped. So most of organizations, let's say international and national organizations, are depending on the what's available in the local market in Gaza, and it's very limited. So regarding the local organization, they have the access to deliver aid in Gaza since they have the connection with the population there. They have the distribution of volunteers. They have the local staff there, that they have the freedom of movement and the ability to move. Especially they are local, they are citizens, they are aware about the situation, they are aware about the safe, let's say, the safe areas, the dangerous area. They have this connection with the key stakeholders there. So this is regarding access. I'm going to tell you an example about what's happening now. The WFP program since March, they stopped from operating because there is no aid or there is no materials entering to the WFP or other UN agencies. So after a while of trial and negotiation with the Israeli side and others, they trying to deliver aid through the community-based key stakeholders, the engagement of local, and they are doing that through their partners, through their local organization who facilitate this communication between international NGOs and local NGOs as a moderator. So this is these kind of local NGOs, or PARC one of them, doing the facilitation between the people on the ground and international to work to deliver in Gaza.
Thanks for that, Tamador. Just a follow-up on that one, if I may.
Yes.
So clearly, local NGOs right now and local partners in Gaza, they do have, as you said, not only the access, but also that connection with communities and so on. What do you expect for international NGOs to do so that they can foster even and facilitate even and enhance that role even further? What is the support you need from, if any, from international NGOs so that you can do that work even in to maximize the impact of that work that you're doing?
Okay. I will talk about national level or international level. They have to raise the voice about the ceasefires, about the ending of war on Gaza, about the facilitation of entry or delivery the aid to Gaza. This is the main, let's say, ask that the international organization have to do because of their, let's say, of their connection with the outside world, with the influencer, with the political side. So they have to ask for these messages for their role with the national or with the local NGOs. They have to improve the security situation for the local NGOs, empower them through the capacity building programs regarding training, regarding humanitarian assistance, regarding access, regarding safety. These kind of things are important to encourage and to empower the local NGO to continue with their work. Let's say full partnership with the local NGOs, not just like donor or oriented relationship. No, strategic partnership with the local organization to maintain and facilitate their work.
Do you think that the current context allows to that change of relationship from what you were saying, from a donor implementer relationship to a much more equal relationship and much more two-way relationship?
For now, it's really the context is very difficult, and there is a lot of influence from the, let's say, from the if you heard about the Gaza Humanitarian Charity Association that is funded by the US. So there is a shifting of power to that organization that is trying to work in Gaza and take the power from other international. But the good thing that local and UN agencies and other international working together against this idea of an unhuman way and dignified way of delivery. So this is one of it, and we see like some kind of unified, let's say, opinion or action about this. So this is one of them. I think that like in more peaceful, more stable situation, the process of strategic and long partnership will be better than this stage.
Okay, thank you, Tamador. Thanks for that. I'm gonna move, in the interest of time, I'm gonna move to Syria, and particularly, concretely to Sara, who is the Deputy Director General of GOPA-DERD. Sara, if you could turn on your camera, yeah, so that, can you hear me, Sara?
I can hear you. My camera is on.
There we go. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. We still have you online. So, switching context to Syria. Syria in a new uh, context, quite a transformation in the country. Eh, from your experience in Syria, or what you would like to see in Syria, um, what is the role of localization in a post-crisis? And I put quote unquote because in Syria you never know when the crisis is over, right? So how do you see localization in a post-crisis scenario context? What specific opportunities and challenges do you see there?
Thank you, Mati. Good day to all. And I'm just want to say thank you. And I'm really honored to be joining you today in this really important session on localization. To put it really in brief, in a nutshell, localization is all about having local actors be leading the humanitarian work as locally as possible and as internationally as necessary. This is in a nutshell. So in the humanitarian world, localization post-crisis refers to shifting leadership, resources, decision-making power, of course, to local actors in the aftermath of a humanitarian emergency. So as you said, Mati, in the case of Syria, war has been ongoing, unfortunately, for 13, 14 years now in a row, with non-stop crisis affecting lots of people inside and outside of Syria. And what it looks like post-crisis is that in the aftermath, which means when INGOs, UN agencies, etc., plan maybe 5 to 10 years, maybe more or less post-crisis to shift their energy and access from one humanitarian crisis to another, meaning if they plan to leave Syria in the long run, localization looks like this. There should be leadership of local actors. So local actors or local organizations should be supported for leadership to take the role of, the first aid responders on the ground, because affected people will be relying on them heavily, not only because they are now currently those on the ground helping people and are in touch with people, but also because they will be the only ones left, the only actors with experience left to help those affected. And all of us know that post-crisis, any country around the world needs a lot of time to recover. So humanitarian needs are always increasing rather than decreasing. And this is really the case of Syria. We have seen through HNO and HRP reports that the humanitarian crisis and the needs on the ground that continue to increase year by year, unfortunately. Localization also includes direct funding to local organizations. So if any state country around the world wishes to continue implementing humanitarian work in Syria, they can now start going through direct funding to local organizations. For example, in GOPA-DERD, we received direct funding from a back donor, which is USAID in the US. For the first time, bilaterally, they gave us a fund back 3 years ago. It was a 2-year project, and we received it, and it was the first time that USAID fund a local INGO, let's say, inside the country, and we were very proud of that. And of course, we will go to this later to see what the criteria is to fund a local partner. So when it comes to localization, this was, let's say, one of our biggest milestones, and we were able to do the project successfully, just like if it was funded through an INGO. Another pillar in localization is to strengthen the capacities of local partners so that they can, post-crisis, stand up on their own feet and help those who are going to be relying on us after everyone leaves the country. Another pillar, of course, is policy and strategy involvement, which means that as local actors, we can, as we are doing now, participate in shaping recovery strategies and national development plans, etc., especially in protracted crisis like the one in Syria. And last but not least, of course, local actors will focus on sustainability and projects that are longer term. This means that if more funding comes in for local actors, they can, of course, post-crisis think about recovery efforts that emphasize, the resilience and the long-term development of people through, of course, sustainable development goals, etc., which align with the humanitarian priorities. Over.
Yeah, thanks for that. I just wanted also to pick your brain a little bit around issues on accountability, Sara, and how do you see also localization strengthening accountability? I think the most important to communities, right? I mean, there is a lot of layers of accountability, and we are all worried about them. But at the first one to be looking at, if I may say, would be accountability to the communities and to the individuals that are going to be at the forefront of the work we do. So how do you see localization strengthening that?
It's a really good question. Local actors are composed of staff members, for example, in the case of GOPA-DERD, that are scattered are all around the country, and they come from local communities. So we did not, let's say, hire staff coming from different countries around the world. On the contrary, we hired staff who have credibility, who have university degrees, who have specific specialties depending on the sector that they're working in, etc. And this has helped to build the trust of the communities, because the staff have a deeper relationship and contextual understanding of each and every single area inside Syria, making it a two-way communication between them and the community. So the first one is building trust. The second one would be community-led decision-making, of course, which means that we involve affected people in, let's say, the needs assessment, the designing of the program, the implementation, and of course, the feedback. And this goes back to not only, let's say, GOPA-DERD being part of the CHS Alliance, which we worked very hard to be a part of and a member of, but also this goes back to the idea of accountability itself, which means we have to engage communities, because at the end, we cannot give them pre-designed programs. We have to engage them to see exactly what it is that they need so we can measure the impact in a proper and reliable manner. So involving them in decision-making progresses from A to Z, from the beginning of the program till the closing of the program, means that we have, of course, promised what we would be able to deliver in a timely manner, etc. Third point, of course, towards accountability would be localizing complaints mechanisms. What does that mean? This means that we have to make sure, for example, in GOPA-DERD, that our feedback and complaints mechanism is culturally friendly, user-friendly, and the language is not too complex, taking into consideration different age groups, and that some people are more, let's say, fluent than others, and some people lack, reading and writing skills. Making sure it's culturally appropriate and training the staff to know exactly how to gather these complaints and feedback mechanisms according to our own policy and SOPs, and make sure that we deliver back, any feedback that we may have to their complaints within 5 working days, as per our policy. So making sure they have access to this complaints and mechanism system means a lot to us. This is why we did not rely only on the traditional, complaint box that you can see in all our service centers around Syria, but we also have engaged them through WhatsApp groups, different numbers. They can access our social media pages, they can speak to our staff, they can call a specific hotline, etc., etc. So we made sure that it's accessible for everyone in different ages, from young children to elderly. Another point would be, of course, transparency and ensuring that populations are participating, as I mentioned in the first point, because local organizations hold more inclusive community meetings. We use a lot of social media. We speak in different, let's say, languages inside and outside the country. We have high visibility measures. And so this kind of transparency helps them feel like they can trust this organization. They know their voices are heard. And we always encourage our partners as well to visit Syria, those who are outside of Syria, to talk to the beneficiaries as well, not only rely on third-party monitoring firms to do their job when it comes to, let's say, auditing or spot checks. But we also invite them to come themselves to do some success stories, take photos, speak to the beneficiaries, ask them why they've been chosen, and ask them, what kind of service they got and if they were satisfied or not. At the end, I just want to add that when we include, displaced and affected populations and local governance, this also means that we can include them in program committees. For example, with farmers, we sometimes create a committee of farmers when we want to give them heavy duty machinery so that they can use on the long run. So this type of engagement makes them feel not only as people who are going to benefit from a certain service, but rather they feel engaged, they feel involved, they feel dignified, they feel that they have a voice and that they are there on the long term, and that we are also relying on them and we show them trust. And we really highlight the capacities that they have, because beneficiaries are not always, speaking about stereotype, people who come from illiterate, let's say, background, or who have no education. On the contrary, sometimes beneficiaries will shock you of the amount of knowledge and university degrees that they have, but crisis unfortunately moved them from one place to another, whether it's physically speaking or economically speaking. So this is why we also focus on highlighting their abilities and their talents as well.
Thank you for that, Sara, for really highlighting the importance of putting at the forefront of everything we do, the communities that we are serving, actually. And linked to that, let me go back to Palestine, because it's very relevant. It's linking to what Sara put on the table, which is the connection with the communities. And there, Lama, from the experience from MAAN, the relationship between local organizations, local NGOs, established, registered with their systems and so on, and community-based organizations that are much more informal. They are very context specific, sometimes even town or city specific. Yeah, I mean, that's where you find a lot of variety. So, how would you describe would be needed to for local NGOs and community-based organizations to have a much stronger connection, and hence to have both be more in the leading role of defining the interventions, the activities or the projects or whatever it's needed. What are in your opinion, what are the challenges and opportunities that we have there in the linkages between local NGOs and community-based organizations?
Hello, everyone. Are you? Hello? Oh,
We
good.
can hear you, Lama.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation, first of all, to this important event. It's a great opportunity to discuss our opinion to make the localization a reality. As you mentioned, I'm work in local NGOs in Palestine, MAAN Development Center, and I work as infrastructure engineers. I have been involved in wash and shelter project in across West Bank, especially in Area C, and where Area C, where people face major challenges in home demolitions, restricted movement, and lack of basic services. As a local NGOs, our work is built on strong community engagement and shaped by what people on the ground really need. And from my experience for local NGOs, I think and I believe that the local NGOs and CBOs play a critical role because of their deep understanding of the context. The response become more effective, more relevant, and connected to reality. I think to support local actors in playing bigger roles and to strengthen them in the ground, I think there three things are essential to obtain. First of things, flexible and direct funding that reach to local NGOs without dependence on intermediaries. International NGOs allow local organized to lead the response. That not mean to replace international NGOs, but to work alongside, to work together, complementary approach. Each actor has a role to play, and we need to work together as a part of bigger system. I think we need a long-term partnership, not just short-term project contract, but allow for real cooperation, shared learning, and sustainable impact, and not as a subcontractor for the project. Also, better access to coordination platform where local organizations are part of decision making, and also not just as implementer of the project. I think these
Lama, you muted yourself, I believe.
Sorry.
It's okay, no problem.
The third point, it's better access to a coordination platform where local organizations are part of decision making, not shared learning and sustainable impact, not as a subcontracting roles. I think this important point makes strength for the local NGOs, and they promise to play a good rules in the ground. But I think there are real barriers or challenges face the local NGOs. Sometimes donors prefer a large international NGOs because of the system and the reporting mechanism. Sometimes a limited space for local actors in global coordination and leadership structures, and the complex administration and report requirement in small NGOs also be struggles to meet the requirement.
Thanks for that. If I may pick a little bit on what you were saying around community engagement as something that is critical and at the core of MAAN as an organization, that community engagement for MAAN is at the core of everything you guys do. How do you see the relationship between you as a local organization established and more informal community-based structures? And where do you see the role of those structures also in the overall localization agenda?
I think a complementary approach for local NGOs and international NGOs is a good approach to make good rules to implement and make a project. And I think also strength building capacity also good for the local NGOs, and make training building capacity also is a good point to strengthen their rules.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lama.
Thank you.
Hopefully we will have more time to discuss these issues in the question and answer space that we will have at the end. Let me switch now to Jordan and address also something that is very much relevant to everything we do, and we have been very much relevant, particularly in the Middle East, and it's all the issues that have to do with the environmental crisis, climate crisis. And for that, Mashael, if you could share with us from your experience working for the Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature, what is the role of local organizations in issues that have to do with the environment, climate adaptation, working with communities, and so on? How do you see localization and climate adaptation, climate change, environmental work? You're muted, Harti.
Good day, Mati and everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today as a part of this important dialogue on localization, especially from the perspective of our region. I would like to thank the organizers for creating this space to highlight local voices and experiences from the Middle East, Jordan. My name is Mashael Zou'bi, and I represent the Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature, Jordan, an organization deeply rooted in the protection of biodiversity, but equally committed to working with communities to create sustainable, inclusive, and locally led solutions. And now allow me to turn into your question. Thank you for your question as well, Mati. In Jordan, local organizations play a crucial role in bridging humanitarian response with environmental sustainability and long-term development. At the Royal Society of the Conservation of Nature, we believe that locally grounded organizations are uniquely positioned to align community needs with the national conservation and resilience goals. Jordan has demonstrated a strong committed to inclusivity practically in its response to displacement. So this approach is reflected in a way when we design and implement our programs in Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature among the 10 nature reserves that we are managing all over Jordan to ensure that the sensitive context and the environmental responsibility to get beneficial for both host and refugees communities. By integrating environmental protection with livelihood development through nature-based tourism, also the sustainable agriculture, green innovation, we create opportunities that restore ecosystems while also improving people's quality of life. So if you allow me, to highlight a few examples from RSCN experience. So for example, in Ajloun Forest Reserve, we have supported women and youth from nearby villages to develop ecotourism services, such as local managed guest house, nature guiding, traditional focal food experiences. These initiatives provide income while protecting forest resources and promoting biodiversity. So the people there feel that they are responsible in conserving these nature to provide services for tourists and receive income. In parallel, in Azraq Woodland, it's a desert area where RSCN has engaged both Jordanian and refugee communities in production of handicrafts and natural products using sustainable materials, where these efforts generate livelihoods for vulnerable groups and also promote awareness about nature conservation. If we're going for South, in Dana Biosphere Reserve, we have trained local community members in sustainable rangeland management and involved them in wildlife conservation through eco-ranger programs. So these initiatives create jobs and strengthen local stewards of endangered species and fragile ecosystems. These examples show that when local organizations such as RSCN are empowered to lead, humanitarian response can evolve beyond the short-term relief to support the environmental protection, economic empowerment, and also a durable resilience, where values are central to Jordan's inclusive and sustainable development vision.
Thanks for that. Thank you for that, Mashael. I just want to pick a bit on the whole issue about traditional knowledge and traditional methods and ways to manage local resources. In your opinion, how can we put that more at the forefront of natural resource conservation, environmental work? How can we make traditional knowledge more prominent in international supported initiatives from your perspective?
Yeah, in Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature, we believe that local and traditional knowledge holds huge value in shaping effective and sustainable response to environmental challenges. So communities in Jordan, practically in rural and semi-arid areas, have a long history of managing natural resources in a way that are adaptive, resource efficient, and also respectful to the ecological limits. At RSCN, we have worked to elevate this knowledge in our projects by engaging community members directly in the planning stage, not only at the implementation, also in the monitoring stage, and of course at the implementation phases. So whether it's a traditional rainwater harvesting techniques or dryland farming practices or community-led forest stewards, these approaches are not only environmental sound, but also deeply rooted in local identity and culture heritage. Some international supported programs are beginning to recognize the value of traditional knowledge. However, more can be done to systematically embed local voice and wisdom from the very beginning of the program design. So combining
and for that, let me catch you. And for that, what do you think needs to change in order to have all this much more embedded?
Of course, we need to invest more in awareness and environmental educational perspective, practically for youth and women, to help preserve the traditional practices that may otherwise like be lost if we didn't preserve it. So while also fostering a culture of stewards and innovation. So education initiatives that connect past with modern challenges, past experiences and heritage and knowledge with modern challenges are a key to ensure the local knowledge remains relevant to build like resilience communities.
Particularly, what do you see, and I will leave it there. What do you see that particularly international NGOs need to change so that more traditional knowledge can be put at the forefront of responses for climate adaptation and the conservation of natural resources? What changes do you want to see in how INGOs approach this sector?
Yeah, they need to like create like identified programs to support that perspective more, and the increasing the awareness and the educational programs for conserving the heritage regarding the support the climate change risks, the physical ones, what we have noticed in our communities. So I believe like more programs need to get on table, supporting all these efforts to conserve what knowledge and traditional values these areas have, and convert them to sustainable interventions that not just stay for the relief or the action phase at the first, but last for longer time and keep and more impactful over the years. Mainly if we focus more on youth level.
Thank you so much, Mashael. I'm going to now turn to another organization in
I think Mati has lost the connection. Let's see if we can recover her. She's in Damascus right now, so she may be having some problems. Give us a second, please.
Hello, I'm back. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? Yeah?
Yes, we can hear you, Mati. Yeah, welcome back.
Sorry about that. Internet in the Middle East. Anyway, I was saying that let's turn now to another organization in Jordan who is also looking at locally rooted models of care, yeah, applied to health and protection. So I want to move from local and traditional knowledge applied to climate adaptation and to conservation of local resources to look at to what extent locally rooted models of care, such as the ones that are being developed by IFH, Dr. Ibrahim, how such models of care can be more recognized and supported by international partners as key reference points for humanitarian programming.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mati, for this introduction, and thank you for facilitating this important session. And thanks also for the organizers of the session. And I would like also to welcome all colleagues from different parts of the Middle East and the world around this, around the topic of the localization. As a matter of fact, sorry, okay. Now, can you hear me
Yes,
very
we
well?
can. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Matter of
Doctor.
fact, one of the major things that and the major programming issues that needs to be considered in the times of emergency, humanitarian, and development as well is the health and protection in general. So when we speak about health, for example, women's health, girls' health, children's health, we're speaking about the enabler for societies to be able to move forward to other areas related to economic empowerment, related to social development, and so on. So health is considered as one of the main basic issues here. That's why it needs to be really programmed and embedded within all types of programs. IFH, the Institute for Family Health, have created a model for providing health protection as and prevention as well. So we're providing, we created a model, it's called the one-stop shop model, where we use health programs, primary health care with focus on women's health, sexual reproductive health, adolescents' health, and children's health as well, as an entry point to identify GBV and abuse cases, gender-based violence and abuse cases. And using this model, as a matter of fact, has enabled us to eliminate the stigma that always is connected to GBV, especially within our context in the Middle East and in Jordan. So as well, we were also adopting. We adopted through this model a human rights-based approach, and that was one of the main things that other like public sector service providers could not adopt. So as NGOs, as a first responder to even to crisis, to humanitarian even situations or development parts, creating such modalities where we can provide dignifiable services to women, girls, and children in the times of conflict and even post-conflict times, and in the times of development, really is considered as one of the major enablers to other parts of the social development issues. So IFH have participated in creating such modality, and even not only just creating such modality, but also providing or establishing the one-stop shop model as a reference at a national level. Let me give you an example. IFH was one of the first responders to the Syrian crisis when in 2010, 2011, when the influx of Syrian refugees started to cross the Jordanian border towards Jordan. And we started at that time providing a minimum essential service package for refugees, especially women and girls. And this included also, part of it included the CMR, which is the clinical management of rape protocols and applying those protocols. This was not provided in Jordan before even. Now, through all, in 2017, after 6 years of adopting and providing this protocol and adopting these guidelines, we were able to advocate for the government to adopt the CMR as a national protocol that is currently provided through public sector hospitals as well as through NGOs. So the idea of being the first who establish such modalities and advocate for such modalities at a national level is one of the major roles that the national NGOs can take over, especially that, as you've mentioned, they're deeply rooted in the community, and they have also the ability to present these modalities to the government to be adopted on a national level.
And from your perspective, and I'm going to close it now because after this, because I want to open for the audience too for questions and comments and so on. But Dr. Ibrahim, from your experience and having implemented this model, what do you want to see more coming from international NGOs to support this kind of initiatives and locally led models? What do you want them to see to do more of and less of?
Yes, thank you so much. And I will be very frank here.
Please.
First of all, I just need to mention this. I used to work for an INGO in the past, and my boss at that time, when I suggested a plan for sustainability of our project, at that time, he was very frank with me, and he told me, Ibrahim, this is our bread and butter. We cannot totally deliver it to the local NGOs or to the government. We need to stay there. So this answer, I think, clarifies exactly how some INGOs, not all of them, but some INGOs think about sustainability. One of the things that I want INGOs to stop doing is to stop the direct implementation on the ground. Because they can rely on local actors, they can rely on national NGOs in the implementation. They can build the capacity of the national NGOs. They can establish a sustainability concept from the early beginning, because we do mix a lot between sustainability, localization, exit strategies, handing over, and all these concepts, because sometimes I used to talk to some of the INGOs when they wanted to exit the camps in Jordan, for example. They came to us and they said, okay, we want to sustain this through you, but we don't have fund for that after 15 years of their direct implementation on the ground without involving us. And suddenly they just want to hand it over without even an exit strategy. So to wrap up this, it's very important that INGOs stop taking over the direct implementation on the ground, count on the local NGOs, build their capacity. We as IFH, we developed our own modality for localization. We used to have 35 locations in Jordan. Currently, we have only 7 throughout the past 5 years, a plan for localization, and we built the capacity of more than 22 CBOs all over Jordan. We supported them. We even managed to get grants and provide grants for those CBOs to replicate our model. We supported them technically, financially, and governance-wise, because the CBOs they do not have a good governance system, they do not have a good financial system, a good procurement system, a good IT system, and so on. So we supported all of this, and currently we are implementing on the ground, reaching to the root communities, but without being physically there, but relying on our local partners, local CBOs within those countries. The other thing that I want the INGOs to stop doing is to stop vertical programming. Sometimes, we created a model that is very comprehensive, integrated model, but we didn't create it through one donor. We had to work with 20 donors, around 20 donors, to create the model, because each donor has its own vertical program. They want only this, and they don't want anything else except of this. They have to start looking to the connectivity between like health and GBV, protection and economic environment, and so on, to be able to really have an impact, the real impact and the outcome of what we're doing. The INGOs also can support in sharing the modalities that are being developed, such as IFH model, making studies, publishing research around these modalities, helping the national NGOs to expand, to replicate within the government and to replicate within the other NGO and CBOs. So all of those roles the NGOs can take to support the national NGOs and really to support the localization efforts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim. Thanks for those very important last points. I'm going to just, if any of the other panelists want to say something that thought that they had forgotten or they want to mention before I open to the rest, before I open to the audience for questions and comments. Tamador, Lama, Sara, Mashael, any? Tamador, go ahead.
Yeah. So you had one question about local engagement and what organization do to enhance the local engagement. We have, I want to talk about example we are doing in PARC regarding in enhancing the local engagement and participation of local communities.
Can you describe that briefly, Tamador? Because I want to leave space and time for colleagues to present questions and more comments to you. But please,
so
briefly,
okay? We have local committees that they are involved in monitoring the programs in any implementation of a project. They are involved in all the aspects of a project. We have the community protection committees that they are involved in the need assessment for their communities, planning, advocacy, research, communicating with the stakeholders. And yeah, that is my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamador. Okay, so now I want to, as I said before, open to any in the audience who wants to have a question, a comment. Also, the chat, I believe, is available and that you can use to put your question there. If anybody wants to go ahead, I do have now a question here in the chat, but first I want to see whether there is any hands up. Anybody? If not, I'm going to start by reading the question that we have in the chat from Amaya Camacho from ACPP. There we go. Amaya, you wanna go ahead? Better than I read it. Go ahead, please.
Exactly, Mati.
Yes.
Instead of making you read the question, I can say it myself. Thank you. Well, thank you to all the speakers. It was very interesting. I'd like to ask a question to all of you, which is, what do you think is needed for partnerships between international and national, local organizations to go beyond financial support and become truly transformative partnerships, collaborations?
Thanks. Thank you. Who would like to take that question? I mean, Dr. Ibrahim was telling us some of the things that need to not be doing or stop doing. But you're looking more in terms of, addressing power relationships. So it's about relationship more than mechanisms and so on. Dr. Ibrahim, I see you have open your camera. Do you want to give it a first shot? Please.
Yeah, I can start and maybe colleagues can continue. But one of the major things to have this transformative collaboration is the way we approach and design the programs and the projects. Normally, what happens is that the donor or the INGO normally they don't bring the real expertise that can talk to the national NGOs. We have two scenarios. They either bring their consultants from outside and they want to implement programming that is not totally does not take in consideration the local context, because they implemented that outside and they want just to bring this experience to Jordan. And if local NGOs were not they were not professional enough, they did not have the resources to say what is right and what is wrong, they wouldn't advise. So normally the implementation will lead into, for me, very output level results, but it will not lead to outcome and impact results. The other way around is that the INGO or the donor, they bring just only the financial aid or the money, and they say, okay, let's see how we can benefit from this, or let's see how we can implement, what's the targets, what are the targets for that. And I think one of the major issues to bring this transformative approach is the co-design of the programs together, bringing local context to international best practices and experience, bringing the right caliber from both sides to work on the project, as well as considering not only targets as numbers when developing the project work plan, when developing all of those things, considering the impact level, and that what normally everybody tries to avoid, because the projects are very limited to a certain period, 6 months, 1 year, or so ever. So one of the recommendations also to think about a multi-year funding approach that also considers an outcome and impact level KPIs. So the transformative approach needs to be designed together, co-designing of even the idea. And we have experience in that. We've tried that with ATID, for example, in the Spanish cooperation. We tried that with other partners who were open to co-design a project based on the local needs and the context, not based on the agenda that the international partners wants to bring in.
Thank you, Doctor. I don't know, Amaya, if you want to do a follow-up, but anybody from the panelists want to add anything to this? Sara, go ahead.
Thank you, Amalia and Dr. Ibrahim. I just wanted to add a very short point to what Dr. Ibrahim just said. An important point would be really building trust and looking at the partner as a real partner, not as an implementing partner only, but seeing what capacities and strengths they have that can be used on the INGO level as well. This is really important. And I believe there's another question in the chat, Mati. Would like to also address it.
You want to take this one? Okay, let me read it. I think it's also I think it's a very good question, particularly in conflict contexts, and we have many in the Middle East. So just to paraphrase a little bit, Paula, your question, those ideas or arguments that say, no, it's better that local organizations do not get into conflict context because they can be biased. Or, and this is my addition, Paula, if you allow me, they are not neutral, they are not impartial, yeah? So I guess, Sara, you really want to take that one. Please, go ahead.
Yes, because I have live examples from the Syrian context. So in Syria, if we talk about local organizations, we saw that during the past 14 years, a lot of local NGOs were born during the crisis. A lot of corruption was there, a lot of fraud was there, a lot of inexperience was there. And when they were vetted as being high risk, and a lot of them shut down. And before, of course, all this, they received funding, surprisingly enough. At the beginning of the crisis, funding streams were extremely smooth, much more than today. And these local NGOs received that kind of funding. But at the same time, let's not forget that even INGOs, not to mention some UN agencies inside Syria, are known to be biased because of the staff that they have. So they hire local staff. Whether or not this was imposed on them is a different story. But they themselves took many decisions of wrongdoings, and the do no harm principle was not existing in those entities, and they were not fair, or let's say partial towards the affected communities. So when it comes to making sure that there's no bias on both sides, my idea would be to audit INGOs and UN agencies and the money that they get, which is the biggest share from back donors, which I recently learned that this money is usually not audited for the UN specifically. And at the same time, local entities should be vetted as well. You should know who you're working with. Not all local partners are to be trusted. Not all local NGOs are, working by the book or are like neutral and they're not biased. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, but I think that we are smart enough as educated people and people who have experience in the humanitarian field to take the right steps to ensure that the people we are working with on the ground or wherever the money is going should be channeled through proper channels to the right people, the right organizations. We have been vetted many, many times across the years as GOPA-DERD, and we always come up with the result of being a low-risk partner. But that's because we work hard for it and we work hard to maintain it. It's not an easy thing in a country of crisis to be vetted as low risk, but it's possible. If we can do it, anyone else can do it. This is my belief. Same goes for UN and INGOs. They should also be audited. Their money should be vetted. We know how this millions of dollars were spent in Syria, where maybe 10% reached the beneficiaries. Sorry to say, this is a fact. But again, I said I recently learned that this money was not audited. And this is a shame to see that hundreds of millions going to international entities are not audited because it's a crisis country and they have exceptions. So for me, this is the big advice that I give. It's true there's bias, but it's also true that there are credible entities who are willing to do all the work. Over.
Okay, thank you, Sara. Dr. Ibrahim, allow me to give Tamador the word first, and then you go. Tamador, please. Hello, Tamador. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I agree with Sara for what she was saying. Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I agree with Sara about what she was mentioning about about auditing and keeping records and everything is safe as an organization. But this is not only the only solution, because this is like part of it part of it is the role of international organization to exchange knowledge about the importance and the capacity building for the local organization regarding human rights, regarding the principle of a humanitarian work, that is to have to be like impartial and to have humanity in providing your services. So the importance of this principle to be applicable and to be learned or shared with the local NGO, it's important. And this is the role of international NGO to focus on that when they have they have a partnership with local NGO to focus on that, to transfer this knowledge. To provide the training, capacity building, awareness about this important issue. It's just not like focusing on one side of auditing or just the money going to the right people. No, to have like a principle for humanitarian work built in this organization. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tamador. I'm going to give the space for Dr. Ibrahim. We may have to go a bit 5 minutes over the scheduled time. I'm just giving people's heads up. If everybody can stay for 5 more minutes after.
Can I make a comment after Dr. Ibrahim?
Please, yes, Dr. Ibrahim, go ahead, and then I'll have
I'll
Lama.
be very short. I totally, I think Sara and Tamador have answered clearly the question, but we always have to consider that the concept of, if I am afraid that you will do this in a wrong way, or you will use the money in a wrong way, then I will not give any local NGOs. The concept of doing a wrong thing based on expecting that others are doing also wrong things is totally unacceptable. The idea we do not fix a bad practice by another bad practice. Okay, so it doesn't work like this. What we need to do is we need to establish our standards for due diligence, auditing, and everything, and put anything, and it applies to everyone, local NGOs, international NGOs, regardless. But don't always bring this issue of like, I'm afraid that you will be using it how would you expect, if you are afraid that I'm using this? Why other NGOs like Sara mentioned, there are other UN and INGOs are doing the same bad practices, the same malpractices that we see always. It's not about whether it's a local or an international. It's about the concept. So let's take the concept and implement the concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Lama?
Thank you. I just confirm what my colleague said. And as the local NGOs, we have approach that do no harm approach, which means it's a very, in Palestine, we have a conflict context, and the intervention that we designed, we make sure that not harm the communities. And that's what the local NGOs know, what's in the ground. Also, I just confirmed that there's the local NGOs have a strong infrastructure, guidelines, and systemic about the project implementation, that they have clear selection criteria, what the project and what the priorities in the ground, accountability system, and complaint system, reporting and verification process to the donors, all the time of the project. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Lama. Do we have a last? I wanna give space for one last question, if we can address it also quickly. If anybody has a last question.
Mati, I think in the chat there's a question that.
Right.
Directed to me.
Okay. Can you please? Yes, please, Doctor. Can you please repeat the name of your health model?
Yeah, it's called the community family health one-stop shop center. That's what we call it. And we were able to establish a model where it is accessible for all people living in Jordan, with focus on the most vulnerable, and accessible totally, not only in physically, but also communication-wise for persons with disabilities. So the model, I can share about the model. Maybe I can share some description about the model for colleagues who are interested in this.
Okay.
And it combines between the prevention, protection, rehabilitation, and resilience services. It's a full integrated model.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I don't see more questions or hands raised. So let's conclude this space. We've heard, I believe, quite important messages that localization is about, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, I would suggest to summarize it as shifting decision making and shifting power imbalances, shifting decision making to local actors because they are the ones within the communities. They have the knowledge, they have the expertise, they have those connections. They are accountable to the communities that they are serving. They are first responders, and they are in the front lines of the work that we do. Another very important message that we heard is there has to be complementarity. There has to be equality in the relationship between INGOs and local organization. A clear message of stopping direct implementation and to go for a more equal relationship between us. A very important message as well to give the importance to traditional and locally owned knowledge, because that's the one that is better adapted to the context, to the society, to the dynamics of the communities, and to the geography itself, particularly when it comes to addressing the conservation of natural resources and climate adaptation. Finally, also clear a message of stop what it has been described as vertical programming, do more integration, and there the complementarity between international NGOs and local NGOs is very clear. And also a clear message to really do more advocacy outside, as a very important role for international NGOs that can not only complement the work of local organizations, but also help to address the root causes of the conflict and the crisis that we are living in the Middle East. These are more or less the conclusions. I think this discussion was extremely rich. I may have not been able to capture everything, and I apologize for that. I want to thank first and foremost our speakers, the panelists, for taking time from their very important work to share with all of us their thoughts, to give us their suggestions and provide to us very strong messages that I'm hoping and that I'm sure la coordinadora will take forward, and colleagues in the spaces in Spain. So from my side, I want to close. Thank you very much. I'm not sure whether Arantxa or Irene, you want to have the last word. Go ahead. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope you have a very good day. For those in the Middle East, for us in the Middle East, we are close to the weekend, so have a great end of the week. Irene?
Lo has dicho todo ya, Mati. Cambio al idioma ahora al castellano. Muchísimas gracias a los participantes.
Thank you so much for the participants, and thank you everyone who has attended this webinar. We will use the conclusions from this space to continue working in localization and advocacy with donors in Spain through our localization group that has organized the event. And without further ado, thank you so much, and I wish you all a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
باي باي يعطيكم العافية.
يعطيكم العافية. Bye-bye.